What's up everybody, I'm Vesper, and today we're going to talk about customization mechanics. So we're going to talk about the ISM system from Alpha 3, the Super Art system from Third Strike, and finally we're going to talk about the Groove system in Capcom vs SNK 2. Now following the recent interview with Famitsu Magazine that Ono did, they asked him what is the unique selling point of Street Fighter V, and Ono said that coming this Saturday at Capcom Cup Finals, they're going to show more about the game, and basically he was saying that fans of all the series of Street Fighter, whether you like Street Fighter 2, 3, or 4, are going to be really excited. He said that when players see it, they'll say to themselves, I've always wanted to do this in the game. Now with a lot of past interviews with Ono always talks about customization in Street Fighter. He brought it up once during Super Street Fighter 4, and he was talking about how when we were able to have two Ultras, he was talking about how he didn't like the system because there would always be one Ultra that trumps the other, so to speak. But he liked the idea of customizing it and balancing it. And then in another interview during the production of Street Fighter Cross Tekken, he was talking about this thing about how when players see a Ryu versus another Ryu, how it was always about luck on which Ryu won. I think that was just like some really poorly translated quote because that doesn't make any sense. But anyways, he was talking about customization. He wants it so that if there's a mirror match in Street Fighter, we don't want it to be two players, following the same meta. We want some type of way for people to play the character in a certain way that they want to, not the way the character is supposed to play. Now Ono got overly ambitious and created the gem system, which failed miserably, but I think that should be a different topic right now about why the gem system failed. But like I said, he was trying to put some customization in the game. Now you add on the rumors with the V-trigger system and how it's going to enable your character to do different stances and change their properties. I think it's safe to assume there's going to be some type of customization in Street Fighter V. So let's talk about some of the customization in the past games. But actually before we start, let me squeeze in some news. Ono just confirmed that Street Fighter V will not be free to play. This actually isn't really a surprise at all because now that Sony is helping them fund the game. It would have been more likely for it to be free to play if Capcom had nobody backing them up and they just need to get a title out and experiment with their DLC system, but it's just going to be a traditional disc so far. Also, Amazon Online has posted a listing date for the release of Street Fighter V in March 2016. Now obviously this is just a placeholder, but it does go with the rumors that we're going to see an early 2016 release of Street Fighter V. Okay, so let's begin. Let's go back in time to Street Fighter Alpha 3. Now Street Fighter Alpha 3 had the ISM system, and the difference between the ISM system and the Groove system, the biggest thing is that they both give your characters perks, but the ISM system also did some passive things, like some ISMs made your character deal more damage overall, like just his normal attacks, or some would lower his defense. And on top of that, they would gain different moves or lose certain special moves. It would also change the size of their guard crush meter, or it gives something really unique like Cody would be able to dodge in V-ism, for example. Now when I go over the isms, guys, and the grooves, I'm going to briefly explain this shit because honestly it would take me hours to explain this in great detail, so bear with me here. Now there were 3 isms to choose in Alpha 3. There was X, A, and V. Also, don't be confused if you guys see a Z-ism. It was just because Street Fighter Alpha 3 in Japan was called Street Fighter 03. So instead of calling it A-ism, they called it Z-ism. Now let's start with X-ism. X-ism was basically the closest thing to a Street Fighter 2 Turbo kind of style play. It made your normal attacks and special attacks do more damage than the other isms, but it also lowered your defense a little too as well. If you guys remember, Street Fighter 2 everything did a lot of damage in that game. Sometimes it was even random. You would also lose the ability to block in the air because the other isms actually allow you to air block. And your super meter was different too. It was just one big bar, and when it was full you were able to do your super, and it was basically the equivalent of like doing a level 3 super. So X-ism was more for people who want to keep things simple. Like I said, it was most damaging for normal and special attacks. Like I said, you wouldn't get level 1 or level 2 super meter. It was just one super bar. You'd lose some special attacks, so things wouldn't get like complicated. It's for people who just want to jump in. I would also say it's more for like an old school player. Like I said, it was the closest to Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Moving on to A-ism. A-ism was kind of like your standard. Everyone who plays Street Fighter Alpha 3, when they first play the game or they haven't played it in years, they'd always just pick Ken and A-ism. Like that's how it is, man. It's like an instinct. But anyways, A-ism, it has your air block, it's got your ground recovery, you know, it's just like your most solid choice. It's standard. Your super meter would have 3 levels, so you can do a level 1, 2, or 3 super, and it would suit your playstyle. So would you want to be a player who prefers to do many quick combos into just level 1 supers, constantly hit your opponent down, or would you want to be someone who wants a big comeback factor and save a level 3 for one big damaging super? You would also be able to do alpha counters with A-ism, and basically you would cost 1 meter, and if you're in block stun, it would allow you to do this instant invincible reversal. This would allow you to get out of like high pressure situations, but it would cost a lot of guard meter if I remember. Finally, we have V-ism. This was the most different than the other two. Your character would be weaker, his attacks would do less damage than the other isms. I think your guard gauge was also smaller than the other isms as well. And you would lose the ability to do a super. Your supers would be gone too. So the big difference is that your meter is entirely different. It's a percent meter. And you would able, when you activate it, you'd be able to do custom combos. Now this is a lot different than A Groove from CvS2, because the way the custom system worked is you'd basically create a shadow version of yourself, I would say, like a doppelganger, and it would mimic your attacks that you inputted. So for example, if you were Ryu and you threw a fireball, when you activated, another shadow version of Ryu will also throw a fireball right after. And the way it works is, to activate you would have to press 2 buttons of the same strength, so jab and short, you know, strong and forward, or fierce and roundhouse. And that would determine the delay that your shadow does the attack. So I think it was the weaker attacks, it was the shortest delay, and the strongest attacks would be a longer delay. So this obviously was the most complicated ism to use. It was definitely for expert players, and of course when you break down the game so hard and you're able to customize combos, you're going to end up doing combos that are more damaging than level 3s. You're also able to make some insane setups, like unblockable setups with V Akuma. You're hitting high and low at the same time, shit like that. It was crazy. The rule of thumb in most fighting games is, if you have custom combos, true custom combos, it was usually the best thing to choose. V Akuma was fucking insane. V Claw was good. What else was good? Oh yeah, V Dalsum. Even A Dalsum was super high tier, and even V Zangief. Zangief, man, custom combos. So it was hilarious to watch for sure. So to summarize, if Capcom did put something similar to the ism system in Street Fighter V, it might actually be a little too complicated for some players, because, like I said, there was passive things, so losing damage and different size of like a guard crush meter, for example, or losing special moves. I think players would be just a little too confused unless they change the ism to, like, you know, easy, normal mode, hard mode, you know, something like that. Okay, moving on to Third Strike. So on Third Strike, you're able to choose your super art. So basically, your character, you choose what super you want for your character. Now, the first big problem with this is the fact that one super would most of the time trump the other two, just because of the way the game was balanced. So, for example, Chun-Li's like super art 2 was fucking insane, because it was a super fast, high damaging, easy to confirm 2 meter super. And speaking of which, that was another customization part, was when you choose your super, it would also change your bar as well, the super meter bar. So for example, with Ryu, you would have your super art Shinku Hadoken. That would give you 2 meters, up to 2 meters of super. So you would also have to consider, okay, how good is my super, and how much meter would it take to use. So if you got 2 stocks, that'd be really good if, for example, if you saved up and you're going into the final round and you have 2 stocks of meter, so you can do it twice, you know what I mean, for example. But if you reuse Shin Shoryuken Super Art, it'd be just one big ass bar. So that'd be something to consider. That's one of the reasons why Ken's Super Art 3 was so amazing, because you had 3 stocks. And another thing you have to consider too, that if you have more stocks, you're able to do more EX moves. Because if you had 1 bar and you throw your EX moves, then you are not able to do any supers at all. So with 3 stocks, you'd have a lot of leeway. So there were a few things that factored in the balance of the game, not just the super itself. So they tried doing something like this in Super Street Fighter 4 by allowing everyone to have 2 ultras. Now, I think when they first started this, they intended you to have both ultras at the same time, the double ultra system, because the inputs for all the ultras were different for each character. But in the end, they decided that you'd have to choose which ultra you want. I know that Ono did not want to do this because, like I said, we'd run into the same problem as Third Strike, but it looks like they just had a deadline to do, and as a result, it turned out pretty shitty. It really shows that Capcom had a hard time balancing the ultras ever since Super Street Fighter 4. There was usually one ultra that would trump the other, it's just brainless how much it would trump the other, because we'd have ultras that were just so easy to combo into, and we have ones that were just so situational. The only time that it was even considered kind of balanced is when we have things that, like, this ultra is an anti-air and this one is for combos, things like that. Like, we have Zangief who's able to grab players in the air, for example. Like, that is a common scenario, and it helps you like a deterrent to stop people from being jump happy. And then we have just his grab ultra. But then we have stupid shit like Balrog's grab ultra. Like, what the hell is with that? And then the counter ultras, oh man, don't even get me started. Some of these decisions were, I'm just gonna say straight up, were questionable at best. If you want to make a system where you choose which super you have or which ultra you have, the best way to balance it is to have it so that it covers the character's weaknesses for specific matchups. That is the best way to balance it. Capcom could have also taken the safe route and just made an ultra that gave you some passive empowerment for a few seconds. So for example, you deal more damage for the next 10 seconds. Like Makoto's super, something like that, and just played it safe, because when you have ultras like that, the player will always have the decision of, do I want an ultra that I'll be able to use sometimes, or an ultra I'll be able to use all the time, and they can just, figure it out that way. It's a very safe way to balance the game. If I were to design an ultra myself for a character like DJ, I would make an ultra that would allow him to hit crouching characters with his standing fierce. For a limited time, of course, so to keep things balanced. Finally, we have Capcom vs SNK 2. They have the Groove system. Now, the Groove system, like I said, I had to explain each groove briefly, guys, otherwise this video is going to last forever. But there are 6 different grooves. Now, like I said, the differences between the Groove and the ISM system is the grooves literally just give you perks. So there are a ton of perks in the game, so things like dashing, rolling, running, air blocking, things like that, and then certain grooves would have them and certain grooves would not, and you choose your groove before you choose your character. The whole idea of the game was that since it was Capcom vs SNK, they would have systems and mechanics from Street Fighter titles, and they'd have system mechanics from SNK titles, and the player would be able to choose which systems he liked, basically. Okay, let's start with C Groove. So C Groove was kind of like the standard Street Fighter groove. It was based off of, I believe, A-ism from the Alpha series. You would have a 3-tiered meter, level 1, 2, and 3 supers. You'd also get a roll. I think you get air blocking as well. Your character would also be able to dash, and you would have something similar to the Alpha counter from the Alpha series. But as standard as this groove is, there is something really unique about it. So with the C Groove, since you have 3-tiered meters, they allowed you to be able to cancel your level 2 supers. You'd be able to cancel it to either a special attack, or you'd be able to cancel it into a level 1 super. And this was only the level 2 version. So a very basic example is you could do something with Ryu where you can just do a level 2 Shinku Hadouken, just your Fireball super, and you'd be able to cancel that right into your level 1 Fireball super. And that simple combo right there is more damaging than just doing a level 3 version, for example. C Groove was a pretty popular groove. There was some characters that were high tier with it. Sagat and Ken come to mind. Sagat can do his Tiger Raid level 2, and you can cancel that right into his Fierce Uppercut, and it was just such an efficient use of meter. You also had Ken, who was able to do, I forgot what it's called, but you know Ken's roll where you do core circle back punch? You can do Ken's Shoyu rep, I think that's when he does his 2 reps of his uppercut, so you do the level 2 version of it. He'd uppercut once and then twice, and you cancel it right before he leaves the ground with his roll. And you do that's just a way to get out of it. And then you do an uppercut if you're in the corner into his level 1, the super that goes straight up. Or you can just do a roll into just a fierce uppercut, and once again, it's just such an efficient use of meter. Moving on to A Groove. Oh boy, here we go, A Groove. This is the custom combo groove, and it's based off V-ism from Street Fighter Alpha 3. So it would have your basic things that would come from C Groove, except you don't have air block anymore, but you still got your roll, you still got your dash, and things like that. The difference is that your super meter is actually just 2 stocks. You're able to do a level 1 super, only level 1 supers, or you're able to activate it once again, and you're able to do your custom combo. The difference is that your custom combo, it's not like one where there's a doppelganger that mimics your attacks. You can only activate it when your bar was at 100%, but if you got knocked out of it while you did your custom combo, it would go back down to 50%, I think. And when you activate, you are not able to block. And the way it works is you're able to cancel all your normal attacks into normal attacks. So you're able to do like insane chains. You can go like fierce punch, fierce punch, fierce punch, like until your character is just like pushed back so far that he can't do it anymore. You're able to cancel specials into specials. All attacks that require charges. So for example, Blanca's rolling attack, you don't have to charge it. You just press back forward and punch, and it'll come right out. So it was kind of like every character could do a custom combo basically. This was clearly one of the best grooves in the game. It was so insane. Not even just for the custom combo itself, but for plenty of other things. The fact that it had roll, so you had the roll cancel for the groove. The fact that when you activated, you were actually invincible during the startup. So you can have the ability to be invincible and bait the opponent to stick out normals and stuff, and then just do this insane high damaging combo that'd be more than any level 3 super in the game. Like I said, even if you got hit during your custom combo, it would just go back down to 50%. You'd be able to activate again really soon. It was really easy to build the meter up. You can even activate in the air. You can combo into the activation, so you can combo into your custom combo. You can use it just when the opponent's about to land, so you can punish him because you won't have trip guard. Hell, if your character had a command grab, you can basically activate it, use the invincibility property, so your character, the opponent would fall right through you, and you would grab him with your command grab and then combo it after, like with Athena, for example. Sometimes you wouldn't even care to land your custom combo. You would use it just to break the opponent's guard. So you would have custom combos that your intention is for the opponent to be stuck in block stun, and you keep repeating special moves, and he'd be just getting chipped to death, and eventually his guard meter would break, and then you custom combo him with whatever bar you have left afterwards. Another funny thing is that some combos weren't even difficult to do. Like if you're playing A Groove Ken, for example, you can just hold forward and just spam roundhouse, for example. It was hilarious. One thing I do like about the A Groove system though is the way to design the custom combos, like the structure of it, because basically there was high damage reduction when you did the same moves over and over. So the way it worked is that every custom combo for every character kind of had the same type of flow chart, and that was you want to do, I'd say, 7 to 9 very, very strong attacks at the starting, and then for the rest of the meter you want to do as many attacks as possible, so your quickest attack. So for example, with Blanca, you would rush the opponent into your corner by jumping and constantly pressing a button, and then when he gets to the corner you want to jump straight up and press your fierce punch, because you just hit so many times. Or with Bison, you would paint defense. Of course, he's got this stupid move where it's a DP motion, and Bison will slam down his hand on you, and it looked like he was painting you with a paint roller. I'm sorry, it's hard to describe. But anyways, it would do so many hits, right? So it doesn't matter how big the damage reduction is, because you're doing so many hits anyways. And then the cool part is, at the end of the meter, just before the meter is about to run out, because when you activate, the meter drains, and you have till that duration until it runs out to do your custom combo. you can end it with a level 1. So basically you get a free level 1, and what it does is it drains your entire meter. So obviously the best time to do it is right at the end when you have almost no meter left, and you would end it with your level 1. And honestly, it would look really cool. Like, I like the flowchart of it. It was very similar to a style like Kingdom Fighters 13, like their kind of custom combos, except theirs is like structured a little bit better. But to summarize, just know that A Groove was the shit. It was the groove to use. The highest tiered characters used A Groove. I think there was Bison, Sakura, Blanca, Vega. Oh man, there was a ton. Okay, so now we have P Groove. Now P Groove was based off of Street Fighter 3. It allowed your character to be able to parry, which was amazing. The problem though is that the groove basically gave you almost no perks with it. I think you only had quick jump, dash, and I think delayed wake up, and I think that was it, guys, if my memory serves me right. Also, you would only have 1 meter, like it was just 1 bar, and it was like the equivalent of a level 3, and the meter would build so slowly, and you would get no benefit from parrying, just barely any meter at all. As amazing as having parry in a game like that would be, it wasn't used that often. There were some pro players that were successful with it, and it was really entertaining to watch, but most of the time people just stuck with the good old A Groove. If we were to have a P Groove system in Street Fighter 5, I would say the best thing to do to balance it or make it more enticing for people to use it is simply to just reward more meter for getting successful parries, especially multi-hit parries. And like, that's just how it is. Like, if you pick P Groove, then you should be saying, I am a player who has a deep knowledge of the game and I'm willing to learn all the moves, and the groove should reward you for that. And that's the whole point of the groove system, is it caters towards the player, not the character. And that's when we come back to the mirror match with the Ryu versus Ryu. And if we have a P Groove user who's playing Ryu, then he would have a technical mind. He'd be a technical player compared to the other Ryu with whatever other groove he is using. That's the whole point of this. Okay, so moving on to the SNK grooves, we will start with S Groove. Now, I apologize, guys, I don't know too much about SNK games like Kingdom Fighters and stuff like that, but from what I understand, the S Groove is based off of Kingdom Fighters 98. They have some extra mode. Now, the two biggest things about S Groove is that, one, you're able to dodge, and this is kind of, oh man, what can I even compare this to? I guess spot dodging from Smash Brothers. Your character would momentarily be invincible, and he would kind of like move in the background, so to speak. He would like dodge, and you can cancel it with a normal attack, I think, if I remember. And the other thing you would have is you'd be able to charge your meter. So what you would do is you'd literally hold down Fierce and Roundhouse, and your character would like go into a stance and he would start charging. And it was the most badass thing ever. It was like Dragon Ball Z. That's what it was like. It was the DBZ meter, you know? And your character would start charging, and it would literally fill up your meter as long as your opponent doesn't go in and attack you. Also, when you were really, really low on life in S Groove, you would have infinite supers. Now, it's funny when I say this, it sounds so broken when you say that, but it wasn't that good at all. But you're able to spam infinite level 1 supers, and when you charge your meter before your life is low, if you just charge your meter at the start of the round, for example, you would only gain a level 1 super, I believe. But if your life was really low and your bar was flashing, when you're in the state where you're able to do infinite level 1 supers, if you're able to charge your meter to full, you would do a level 3 super. But I think your meter would charge slower at that point. Now, as cool as S Groove is, it was actually what people regard as the worst groove in the game. And I don't entirely know why. I think it's because the meter was so hard to charge, it just took too long. And the benefit, like, you only get a level 1 super, right, for charging it. So there was that. Oh yeah, and the meter would drain too. Your super meter would drain over time if you didn't charge it to max. So it put a lot of pressure on you. There wasn't too many moments where you're able to just sit there and charge, you know, all DBZ styles, and your opponent would just be standing there with his scouter checking your power levels. Now I'm going to spin this around and say, how would you guys balance S Groove if we had to have S Groove in Street Fighter 5? what would it cater to? Would it cater to a zoning kind of character? Some kind of character that revolves around trying to knock you down or keep you away so he's able to constantly charge and gain meter and continue pressure. Basically food for thought. Now we have N Groove. N Groove, I'd say, is the Swiss Army knife of all the grooves. It basically gave you almost every perk in the game. You had everything. Quick jump, roll, you had a run instead of a dash. Oh yeah, I should explain that. Running was it was really good because you know, it gave like slow characters the option to get in really quickly, but the difference too, but dash had its uses as well. Sometimes dash was better because dashing in CvS2, some characters had a hop. And what you could do is, after like a hard knockdown, for example, you can hop over your opponent's body when he's lying on the ground, and you can do like a crossover when he's waking up. So the way the super meter worked in N Groove was that you have up to 3 stocks, and it'd be the biggest meter in the game. It would take so long to get 3 stocks. And one option is you can just burn a level 1 super whenever you want. That'll take an entire stock. Or you can activate your stock. Now when you activate your stock, your character would start flashing. And this is what I was saying from Street Fighter V when they did that stance move that we see. That's why it seems similar to N Groove, because when you're flashing, you're dealing more damage. I think it was 20%, something like that, and it was for a limited amount of time. Now, while you were flashing, if you decide to do a super while you're flashing, it would take another stock and you would do a level 3 super. So you're doing a level 3 while with only using 2 stocks a meter, which was pretty good. The downside though is that if you activate your stock, that's the only way you're going to do a level 3. You're basically telling your opponent, okay, I'm trying to land a level 3 right now. So, you know, it'd be like a huge sign to your opponent, basically. Oh, and I forgot to mention, the game this is based off of, from what I understand, is Kingdom Fighters 98 using advanced mode. You're also able to use a stock to do a counter roll, and basically you'll be able to roll out a block stun at the cost of 1 stock a meter. And rolling in CvS2, basically it's something like, you guys know how you can roll when you wake up in Street Fighter Cross Tekken? It was kind of like that, except the distance that you rolled was different for each character and the speed. And you can actually be thrown out of it. You weren't completely invincible, and you would have some recovery at the ending of the roll, and maybe the starting? I don't remember. N Groove wasn't the most popular groove, but there was definitely a bunch of characters that benefited pretty well with this groove. Iori comes to mind, and Chun-Li would be another great character on N Groove. Okay, finally we have K Groove. Now if A Groove was the best and S Groove was the worst, then K would definitely be the most popular groove in the game. Everyone loved K Groove, man. It was so fun. Even I loved K Groove. So the way K Groove worked is that, you know, you'd have your quick jump, you'd have your run and stuff like that, but your super meter would be a rage meter, and it's kind of like the ultra meter, kind of. But the way your rage meter filled, only filled up 2 ways, from just defending or getting hit. Oh, and this was based off of Samurai Showdown. I know that for sure. Okay, so when your rage meter explodes, basically you get a huge damage boost. I think it was like 35%. And you'd also get a defense boost, and it was somewhere around 10% or something like that. Now your entire bar would start draining, and you'd have a limited time basically to go after your opponent in rage mode, or you can burn the entire meter and you can do a level 3 super. And when you did a throw on someone during this state, man, it would do so much damage. So when someone's rage meter goes off, man, you run your ass off, man. You want to stay away from them because it's draining, right? So that's the difference between the ultra meter and Street Fighter 4, basically, is that when the ultra meter goes off, they have it forever until the end of the round. But when you're against K Groove, you can basically, you know, avoid the opponent and wait for it to drain after it activates. So the cool part about this groove is that you're basically guaranteed a level 3 every single round, because like I said, the meter fills up when you get hit, so it's always guaranteed at some point to go off. I kind of wish that the ultra meter in Street Fighter 4 was done in the same way as K Groove. But anyways, also when you taunted your opponent when he had a K Groove, it would give him so much meter. So what some people would do, because if your meter explodes and the round is over while your meter is still like activated, the next round would start and the meter would start completely drained. So what some people would do is that if the meter was almost full by the end of the round, and you know you're gonna lose, you would taunt your opponent and make his K Groove explode, so that when you die, the next round is back to nothing. I don't know, it was funny to do back in the arcade. Another cool perk you got was Just Defend. Now, Just Defend is basically the opposite of parry. It's when you block an attack just before it makes contact with you, and what that would do is it would make you recover a little faster. You would gain some rage meter, and you would also gain some health back as well. So the cool part about this was you could also do it in the air. So this actually gives you the ability to block in the air, so to speak. But your character would fly up after he just defends in the air. It was really weird. But if you're really good with this, you can just defend hits that, like, multiple hit attacks. Something like Blanca's electricity, for example. You can just keep just defending it, and you would gain so much life and rage meter. It was awesome. It was a very aggressive groove. You also, like I said, you had run and you had quick jump. Quick jumping was like it's from King of Fighters. It's when you do that low hop and you can just like squeeze in like a normal attack. That was really good in the game too, because you could do like a quick jump and you can combo it into like a super, for example. It wasn't like in Third Strike where you had to have like certain spacing so you can combo right after it. In this, you can just straight up do like a quick hop roundhouse, for example, or you can hop all over the screen. It was fun. K Groove was definitely one of my most favorite grooves to use. Hamaru K Groove for days. A lot of pro players use K Groove actually too. I think Ino comes to mind. Some of the best characters that benefited from K Groove was definitely Cammy for sure. With her running pokes was just insane. And K Groove Rock was good too. Any character that can pretty much run, poke you, and hit confirm to level 3 was pretty much on the top of the list. Okay guys, finally I'm done explaining all this shit. Alright, so, discussion time. Do we want customization like this in Street Fighter V? Personally, I love the Groove system. I think it is one of the best systems ever created for fighting games. It just adds so much depth to the game and allows you to play the character the way you want to play him. I think the only weakness to these kind of systems, the ISM system, the Groove system, the biggest weakness is that it makes it very, very difficult for the developers to balance the game. And back then we only had the arcade cabs, so they didn't even balance it in the first place. Like, you know, that's why A Groove was just so insane, right? So what do you guys think? If let's say in a perfect world where, you know, we get patches every now and then, it'd be slightly imbalanced, would you guys like this system? If there ever was a day where Capcom just literally kicks down my door and says, Vesper, we need you to make Street Fighter V, what do we do? I would just take a copy of CvS2 and throw it in their lap and say, look at this game and learn from it. Another cool thing too is that we don't have to copy the Groove system, you know, exactly like it was. We can add other systems that are based off different games. Like for Street Fighter V, we can have, you know, the Street Fighter 4 system. So you have an Ultra Meter and you have focus attacks and you're able to do your favorite FADC combos. Stuff like that. If the V trigger works the way people say it does, then it will be something like the Groove system in a way that you get your perks in that, but instead you have to activate it mid-match. So do you guys like the style of being able to have these perks before the match begins or during the match? It might be easier to balance that way if it's only for a limited amount of time, right? Rather than just having it for the entire match altogether. But if Capcom ever has a custom system where you're able to do custom combos, we have to pray that they balance it because it is so hard to do. And don't bring up Jury as an example because that's a shitty example and it's not the same thing. It's not a true custom combo. Okay guys, I'm going to wrap this up. We're going to find out more about what the new system for Street Fighter V is, hopefully on Saturday, which might even be today by the time you guys listen to this, from how long it took me to record this. But I'll see you guys next topic, and of course, if you guys have any suggestions for things for us to talk about, please leave it in the comments below. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll talk to you later.